Hey, I'm Zac.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth.
On Now You Know.
Brought to you this week by A Better Route Planner. Hey, did you know that over 11 million routes have been planned on abetterroutePlanner.com?
We have seen the growth from like 3 million to 11 million routes planned.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's a lot of people driving a lot of electric cars.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you, A Better Route Planner.
And brought to you by Bior. Build your own robot. Check this out, Jesse. You can make a Cybertruck with Bior now.
What?
Yeah, you can make anything you want.
So you don't have to like buy the special kit?
No, you just use your imagination.
Wow.
So speaking of imagination, we're going to be talking to two guys that formed Sono Motors. What do they do?
So they make this electric car that is completely covered in solar panels and gives about 35 kilometers of electric range every day just by parking it outside.
So this is a company we've been watching for a long time, and stay tuned to the end of the episode because depending on the answers we get, Jesse and I might be investing in the company. Well, we're super fortunate to be with the founder of Sono Motors, Jonah Christians, and Lauren Hahn. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank
Hi
you
there.
for being here.
So I wish we were here on different circumstances. It's kind of a tough time right now for your company, and that's why we're talking to you. And time is of the essence. So if you're watching this interview right now, and it is Friday, December 20th, there's about 10 days left to do something important. Can you tell us what that is?
Definitely. We have a campaign, a community funding campaign. We're trying to reach 50 million until the end of this month. We are already at, 50 million. If you see that, probably check our website. What we basically do is we need money to continue with the project. We need money to bring the Sion on the street. We decided against selling the company. We had an offer or several offers on the table where the Sion would have not come to the street, patents would have taken, technology would have taken, but the Sion would have not come to the street. And that's why we decided we have to go back where we come from, to the community, to the people out there, 10,000 people who reserve the car, and that's why we're doing this.
And when you start a company like this, you are told like the classical way of funding a startup is always with investors, and we went that way. We had different funding rounds and successful funding rounds in the past, but at one point we came to where we are right now, where we have to kick off a lot of production tools for the car, for the Sion, and these production tools are so expensive. It was clear to us we have to talk with a lot of big investors, international investors, and when we did that, we clearly faced a situation where we had an offer, as Lauren said, but would have sold like what we basically started for, and that is producing affordable electric mobility and bringing it onto the street in Europe, and that would not be possible with these investors, and that's why we decided against it.
Now, to that point, I mean, Jesse and I have decided that we're either going to, at the end of this interview, invest in Sono and put some money down on a car, or we're not. So people who are watching right now, stay tuned till the end, because we're going to get the answers that you need to decide whether you want to support this company. Now, full disclosure, we've been covering your company for the past few years. We're super duper excited about the Sion. It's a solar electric car, which couldn't be more exciting to Jesse and I.
Right.
But we want to find out if investing in your company is the right thing to do, if it's actually going to produce a Sion. So can you tell our viewers who are watching why they should consider heading over to your website and helping you either by pre-ordering a car or by loaning you guys some money?
First thing, Sion. It's a family-friendly electric vehicle. Basic 25,000 euros, which is about $28,000. It is, has 5-seater. It's a van, has a trailer hitch, big trunk. It's very, comfortable. It's very like a normal, regular electric vehicle. But which makes it unique is the solar integration. We have integrated in the whole car body solar panels. It's recharging up to 34 kilometers a day, recharging itself, doing nothing, just standing out there, recharging itself. Basically, what you can do with this car is being a commuter, and you don't have to recharge as often as you do with a normal electric vehicle. There are scenarios here in Germany and in the US where people just drive 10, 20, 25 kilometers a day For them, it's a car which doesn't need to be recharged during most of the year. And that's massive. That's massive if you talk about infrastructure, if you talk about range. This is massive. And secondly, we integrated a bidirectional charger. You can discharge your battery, putting power back to the grid, putting power back to other electric vehicles. You can actually recharge other electric vehicles. You have home storage on wheels with you. It's amazing. You can check our website there. And the third thing is we put in car sharing, ride sharing, and power sharing into one app, which comes with the Sion. You can just share this car. It's just it's a whole new concept of how you use vehicles, how you can make money with your vehicle while you're not there, while you're on vacation. So there's totally new things we could do because we just started from scratch, right? Because when we started the company, we sat down and said, okay, what's the actually perfect car for guys like us, not earning a lot, not high segment Tesla or something, but a really decent electric car. And that's why we came integrated with solar cells, bidirectional charging, car sharing, ride sharing, and power sharing.
And some words also to the Sion. Well, we face a situation where we see a lot of new cars, a lot of new electric cars, which is a good sign. But these are just cars. These are just regular cars. They drive you from A to B. And people 20 years ago also looked at cell phones and said, well, I have to call. What else should cell phones be capable of? Right. And what do we have today? Phones that can do much, much more. And that's also what's going to happen with a Sion, because the Sion is a car that can do much, much more than just bring you from A to B. So that's really the idea behind it. We have one question every day in our actions, and that is, do we produce more carbon emissions or do we reduce them? That's the essential question humanity faces right now, and we ask ourselves in our daily actions. And that really drives us so far that we say we not only have to rethink the car, but also rethink how we produce the car, what we can do better, and so forth. And we started first with using an existing factory. We produce in the former Saab factories in Sweden, Trollhättan. And we drove it even further to reduce our footprint, reduce the footprint of the car. And what cannot be reduced in terms of emissions in the production is offsetted by CO2 compensation. So actually, when the car comes out, it has an emission of 0 gram CO2. And that is what's so important to us. We say we really want to make sure this car is against the climate crisis. No, is a sign for new products. And this is what drives us forward.
Exactly. So that's why we decided to do this. Everyone who supports the campaign now gets access to those community pool and gets access to those Sono points. And those Sono points are equivalent to virtual shares, which make you, which gives you the right to participate on the profits and the exit of Sono Motors. So if we sell the company, for example, the community would get the money.
I mean, that's a really interesting, different point. I've never seen another company do this, where, like you said, you're taking your ownership, putting it into a pool, and if Jesse and I go buy a car, then we're going to get some Sono points, which equals a share in the profit down the road. So, I mean, that is completely unique. And that is what's making me honestly lean towards wanting to support you guys, because not only am I super excited about the car, but I see that you're super excited about doing it right. Like, the car is carbon, neutral, and you want to make sure that all the energy for the car is coming from the sun. But I do have some tough questions for you guys. One of them is, our Lord and Savior Elon Musk has said that putting solar panels on a car doesn't make any sense, because he says it's better to put them on your roof of your house and charge up your car with solar energy that way. Why did you guys decide to put solar panels on the car itself?
Well, the funny thing is, he changed his mind. He said this quote, I think in 2017. Now Cybertruck came out, and you all have seen it. It has solar panels on the top. So he changed his mind because technology evolved, and we think we have developed a unique technology which is not on the market yet. It is, integrating solar panels in the whole car body, not only roof systems. It's polymer, it's not glass, it's lightweight, it's 4 kilogram per square meters. It is very efficient, it can be produced in 30 seconds. All this in automotive grade. So there are certain arguments where you have to admit that it makes sense producing energy where you need it. Of course, if you say, hey, I have a huge roof, please put solar panels on the roof. That's what we're saying. But we also see the potential of people not owning a house, not owning a roof where they can put solar on it. And for them, it's the best thing what we can do, integrating solar into the car. And the good thing is, the price is not higher than paint. We've developed a technology which is almost at the same price level as paint. Why? Because for paint, you need a huge paint shop. You need upfront investment to set up this production for a painted car. It's very energy intensive. And we all skip this. We don't need it because we have polymer outer skin with solar panels integrated.
So you're saying that you're making the car cheaper by putting the solar on it, and it would be stupid to paint it because it wouldn't be giving you any power and it would cost more?
I would say it's the same price level. In terms of repair, if you have to repair it afterwards, it's cheaper probably. So if you have a dent, it's cheaper to repair a solar panel than just do a scratch, repaint it, and all this. This is more cost expensive. But right now it's on the same cost level.
Wow. So the value proposition of that is way higher because, with paint, let's say it costs the same, coming out of the factory, but every day that you own the car, that's basically money in your pocket that you wouldn't have had to charge your car for. At least here in the States, electricity isn't that expensive, but you'd still be saving quite a bit of money because, as we know, electric cars do use a lot more power than we're used to in our homes. So that's really a really interesting way to think about this.
It's true, and there's also, the one thing is costs. What is the cost you can save? But the other thing is RTK, like that you are free of charge. Imagine this car has a trailer hitch. You can go into the wild, having a trailer hooked up, and then just live there or be there for a couple of weeks. You don't need energy because it's recharging itself. You can use this energy for your trailer. You can cook. You can do something with it. Up to 5 kilowatt hours a day it gets generated through the car. So you can basically do anything with this, right?
Wow. And this is why you have over 10,000 people who pre-ordered the car, because it is a super exciting proposition. I love you mentioned this briefly, but this is super exciting to me. The fact that the car can charge other things. So you can plug another car into your car, or you can plug, a tool into your car and actually power it from the battery. I've never seen that yet in another car.
Right. Yeah. We made it a little fun. We had one day you had here a Tesla Model X, and we charged with the Sion a Tesla Model X, and then put it on Twitter. It went viral a little bit because people really didn't realize that something like this exists, and it's you have to imagine if you're running in the future, if you're running out of electricity, right? There is not a help car which can come and refuel. You have to have something in there, a battery. And imagine the Sion can just drive by and give you a couple of kilometers by plugging it in. So it's a very simple and easy way.
We just rethought what a car can do and what resources are all about. Is you have that big battery, 35 kilowatt hours in our case with the Sion, and not using that battery. Just letting it stand around, that is a waste of resources, right? And that is the thought behind the system. We said, when we have a system where you either charge other cars or you use it for direct use for power tools and other stuff, or you even plug it into the grid and you help the grid, especially with renewable energies, to stabilize, then you have a value proposition at the same time, while also using that resource and earning money with it.
So one thing that didn't get mentioned a minute ago when you were listing off all the cool features of the Sion is the fact that you've got a natural air filter in the car. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So when we started with designing the car, we also looked in the interior, what can be done differently also in regards to material choice. And one material that was quite interesting, which we also have here, is that one. That is
wait a minute.
very interesting,
What is that?
Material.
What is that?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's moss. It's actually a very special lesion type, and that type is interesting because it has a very fine structure,
Right.
and it's not living. It's not a living plant, and so forth. Of course, it was living. It was growing, especially in the northern hemisphere. But as soon as you cut it and you prepare it with different a little bit of salt and so forth, in such a way that it's not growing anymore, and there's no bugs in there and stuff. So you pretty much clean it. But as soon as you have it in that state, it's a material which filters dust and fine dust, and that is what makes it so interesting, because you actually have a natural air filter. And the way this plant then behaves is also it regulates humidity. So you can think of it like a sponge, right? It's really like when it's very damp, humid out there, then it collects the humidity and gives it away if it's dry. So that is what makes it so interesting. But of course, this is completely new. And we had to find a method to integrate it, and we found a very nice one to integrate like in the front of the interior. And in that case, it's a natural air filter, so it has a function, but of course it's a design element. And this was never done before. It's integrated in a way that's also light up and that stuff, but also protected. It's not possible to touch it all the time, because otherwise it will eventually fall apart. So we made sure of that also. But that's what makes it so interesting for us, to use natural material in such a way that they are design features and at the same time have a function.
Now, this is why, again, so many people want this car, because you've done so many amazing technologies and innovations that you put in it. I think a lot of people watching right now who don't know a lot about business might be thinking, well, these guys had a great idea, but they're not good businessmen because they ran out of money. And what I'd like to point out is, having invested in tons of startups, is that every startup burns money. You're not selling a product yet. And even when you do, like, it takes years before it's profitable. So you're not doing anything wrong. So tell us why, now that you've gotten to this next round and you need seed money, why you didn't go the traditional route? Why didn't you just ask a bunch of venture capitalists to fund you?
Then we have to go a little back in the story. What basically happened is we did a couple of financing rounds in the past, successful with some investors, nice, really, still on board, those investors, happy to be here. But what happens now is we short before production, and if you set up production, you need a lot of money. It's very capital intensive. And from that step on, we could not finance it through some smaller investors. We had to go big, so we had to go international, and that's why we talked to international investors and negotiated with them over a couple of months. And we always came to that point that it turned out those investors are not interested in our values, not interested in what we want to change. They're only interested into making fast money, high profits, and want to sell the company in basically 2 years or 3 years. At the end, the Sion would not come to the street. Why? Because the sixth point here is the investors we talk to turn out always to want to have the technology, the solar technology, bidirectional charging technology, a couple of technologies there. They wanted to pick, like cherry picking, but didn't want to bring the car to the street. And for us, it was like a decision to make. Are we making personally money and sell the company? But the Sion comes not to the street. Our promise to 10,000 people would not, we couldn't kept it. Or do we stick to our promises, go that way, even if it's a bumpy road, and say, hey, we do it over community. We do it for for the thing, why we actually founded this company, and launching this community funding campaign, 50 million euros in 30 days.
So you did what was pretty much the most opposite thing you could do. You took your equity in your own company and you're putting it up for people to buy, essentially. So can you talk a little bit more in detail about what that means?
We have a or decision was taken for us founders, so Navina, Lauren and me took the decision to give all our profit shares into a pool, as we call it, a community pool. And these are like all these profit shares from us as founders. And then
64%.
64%, correct.
The company.
And then this pool is very easily distributed among the people. And that is simply, if you reserve the Sion, it depends on the amount of the down payment, but you get points. And when you have these points, you very simply calculate your share of that pool by dividing your amount of points
Divided by the whole.
divided by all the points that were given out. And it is also limited to the start of production, so the pool will then be closed. But and especially in this campaign, there is a bigger incentive to get more points right now than afterwards, after the campaign, but it will continue, but significantly lower in terms of the amount of points you can get. But that is really the basic system behind it.
So this is like the only car that just by buying it, you're actually helping yourself to buy it in the future.
It's kind
the
of
good
it.
thing is, the important thing is, you only have to pay if we reach the 50 million. So you don't have any risk right now. So if you go on a website, put down the money, you don't have to pay it. It is, just a reservation, and then as soon as we reach the 50 million, we send you a link and you have to pay. So for you, actually reserving a car, there's no risk right now.
Interesting.
Now, so there's a deadline involved. Can you tell us about that?
Deadline, end of the month, only 2 weeks left. Pretty intensive. We have already the biggest crowdfunding campaign in Europe ever. It's about 50 million right now while we're recording the video. It's going up every day, but still it's a long way. So we need a big push. We need people out there who say, hey, something has to change. We cannot continue like this. We have to take matters in our own hands. And that's our answer. That's what Jonah and me is saying, hey, we give everything. We fight for it. And it's depending on the community whether this car comes to the street.
So I'm going to assume now that you guys are going to raise the 50 million, because that's exactly what's going to happen, guys. When you get that money and you're able to start financing the tooling to build the car, I know there's a lot of people out there who are excited about getting in the new Sion. Can you give us an idea of what the timeline is like going forward?
Yeah, sure. So we have big milestones that we then have in front of us. The next milestone is further prototypes, series prototypes, and these prototypes are eventually the cars that show the final status of the development and show the final design, also the final interior design. That's a huge step for us. The second thing is that we have a production build-up where we already have tools in place, stuff in place that make it very concrete how the car can be produced. And this is like for the next really 12 months. This is really the prototypes and the production build-up is for the next 12 months. What then will follow is we will have the production line already in testing, like you produce very early, you produce the so-called Zero series, where you have cars that are...
Pre-Series 1, Pre-Series 2.
Correct, where you have cars that are on the production line, but still very, very much handwork is needed. And then you have production series 1 and 2, and eventually the SOP, the start of production. And the timing for this is we will have the first cars coming out of the line in September 21, and the full-scale start of production then in beginning of 22. This is like the full timing, but the really next milestones are these series prototypes and the production build-up.
And for those viewers who are watching who might think, well, these are just some friends from school, they don't know anything about business, and they're just this tiny little startup. Can you point out, you've got a huge team, so you've got a business team, you've got a lot of employees, you've won a lot of awards. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we 400 people working on a project, 300 external, 100 internal. We have built up a fantastic team, very experienced, 20, 30 years of experience in automotive industry per person. It's just us, very young, sitting here, but behind us is a major team which knows how to build cars, which knows how to set up a business. And I think, we're still the founders. Of course, we drive the company.
It's pretty much also this combination of experienced people and young people that makes us up, because we think it's not about throwing away all the old stuff,
right.
But turning that big ship we are in right now, turn that around and make the best out of the situation. And in that regard, there are experienced people for the solar integration, experienced people for the bidirectional charging system. So everything that also sets us apart is developed in-house, and that is quite unique in that regard.
Right.
One comment to the businessman and two friends. I mean, of course, two friends sitting here, 26 years old. But for me, that's not the point. The point for me is Sono Motors is built to be profitable. It's a company built to be profitable, but profitable also to the environment, also to society, and then also profitable in terms of finance. It's just not, we are not here to make only profit in terms of finance and blow these things up and neglect the other two profits. And I think in that regard, I think I'm not here to judge if I'm a businessman or not, but that's my understanding why we do this, what we do.
So I have one last question, and that would be, what happens if you don't hit the 50 million euros by the end of this month? Can you extend your deadline? Is it an internally imposed deadline? Is it external? What would that look like? Is it the end of the world, or is there some silver lining to it?
Well, it can be said, when we do not reach the 50 million, the sign as we see it for now cannot come onto the street. That is one trigger, or not one threshold. And if we come below this 50 million, of course there are strategies. But first of all, you have to see why we did also these 30 days in such a short time, is because that's also how funding campaigns work. You do not, when you have 30 days, you actually have that push, you have that momentum, and you lose that if you extend it and stuff. So we face a situation where we say it's going to be tough the next days, but we still see the way to go there. If we come below, we simply cannot guarantee that the sign can come onto the street.
So we need any support. Anyone out there seeing this video wants to have this car, wants to have to change something out there, needs to support us. Donation, reservation, push us, spread the word, whatever, because it's all about us. It's not for us, it's for us all, changing something to the better.
I think this is a perfect holiday present or a New Year's present. Give someone a pre-order for the Sion. I mean, can you imagine if it's here's a Sion,
right?
And darling, perfect.
It's one of the few things you can buy right now, because it doesn't need to be delivered.
That's right.
Right now.
Right.
So that's the one thing. It's digital. You can just say here it is.
That's true.
You don't have to be it's going to be delivered January 8th. Come on.
And you can be sure that they don't have it already. It's the worst when you give a gift and they already have it and they have to bring it back, but they're not going to have a Sion yet. So I think it's the perfect gift. You guys are awesome. So keep pushing. We're going to help you all we can. I know our community is going to help you all they can, because we need to get this car out into the world. And I mean, I just know that there's thousands of people throughout Europe who are excited about your car. Obviously, you have 10,000 plus orders. And so we just need to make sure that those of you who are on the fence, go at least check out the website, check out the car. I'm already pushed. I don't know about you, Jesse, but at the end of this video, we're going to be going to your website and joining the campaign, because this is exactly why we started this channel. We want to move the needle on sustainable transportation, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for being part of this. I'm super stoked. Let's go to their website.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
And talk to you soon, right?
Thanks so much for watching Now You Know. We work hard to bring you videos about things that we think you'll find useful, but we need to know from you what you want to see, so leave your comments below. Also, don't forget to go over to our Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can watch our Patreon bonus story every week on Tesla Time News. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.